Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wendy Morgan, and I am your host today in the personal development and training. Welcome. Today, I have a special guest that's joining me today. Her name is Dr. Velvet, and she is a metaphysician. Oh, Lord, Velvet, help me.
Metaphysician.
Metaphysician. That's what happens when dyslexia gets a hold of the tongue.
I know.
And myself, I'm a spiritual mentor, and I'm also a personal development coach and empowerment coach. And, same thing goes for Dr. Velvet. She also does all those same things. So we're going to have loads of fun today. Velvet, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I was excited when you asked about this because this happens to be one of the things that I really love helping people on. It can be one of the most difficult too. We don't realize how difficult changing our mindset can be. So I really appreciate being here today.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here too. So earlier last night, Dr. Velvet shared with me some information that she's used to talking on. So it's really interesting because you're going to get two sides of it, which is going to be a beautiful whole compilation of where both of us come from. And it's going to address everything within your being. So I'm really excited looking for it. So let me share my screen and let's get this show on a road. Okay. Come on, there we go. And before we start, Jenny, are you okay with letting people in? I presume that's a yes because you let somebody in just now. And everybody, we will take questions at the end. If you do have a question, you can put it in the chat and I'll try to review it, or Velvet will try to review it as, when we get to that point of Q&A. So today we're going to talk about growth mindset. And of course, I'm one of your presenters, and so is Dr. Velvet. So today we're going to go over being the observer. Sorry, too many clicks there. The agenda today, we're going to go over how to want to be observer, be aware of looking for similarities going on in your life, accepting ownership from within, clearing old patterns, and working on the inside. And of course, loving the whole process. And these are basically the topics that'll make more sense as we move along. So the question is for everyone is, are you thriving? I mean, really thriving, or are you seemingly stagnant as a frozen tundra, not making any gains or growth that you desire? Are you attracting the people that are skeptical? Have little money, or argumentative and questioning everything that you do? Are you attracting people who are not supportive? Well, then you're ready for a growth mindset, and this is what we're here for you today. So being the observer, what does that mean? Well, observe what and who is showing up in your life. Observe what record is playing in that subconscious mind. And that's going to be our first focus for today. So I'm going to go and talk about this, and Dr. Velvet and I are going to go back and forth, sharing our opinions as whatnot. Let me make sure first. I can't really see it. If everybody else is muted, I can't really see it at the moment. So let me see here. Yeah, we're all good. Okay, never mind. All right, so you want to observe who or what is showing up in your life. So what does that mean? Well, we are programmed that the outside world is what creates us. We're programmed this from children, guys, from the very, very get-go. That's what we need to, that we need to adjust, to change, and or be accepted by the outside world in order to survive. In learning this said lie, we have learned to be reactive versus responsive. Responsive comes from your power is within you and you're choosing to say or do whatever may reflect the situation at hand. Reactive is that you just don't really think about it. You just quickly just jump to, anger, or I didn't do that, defensiveness or anything else. In reactive mode, we could feel victimized, not in control, overwhelmed, and frustrated for what is showing up and not showing up in our life. Eventually, we could lead to what's called the glazed over syndrome. just surviving. As they say, chop wood, carry water. You're just doing the same thing over and over again. And you're getting up and you don't really feel like you have any purpose. Now, Velvet, I just realized I didn't put that slide in about purpose. So let's really talk about purpose, because we both know it's very important. If we don't have purpose, then you're just going to feel like you're chop wood, carry water. And you need that purpose within your life. But that's still part of the whole world is there. And, I'm tired because I can't do what the world wants me to do. So what we do, we need to wake up, guys. We need to wake up and observe what's really going on, because it tells us all about us. So observe what record is playing in your subconscious. Even though you may say, feel, even though you may say and feel that you want to attract business builders and people who see the benefit of this technology, yet your subconscious, your inner programs are on repeat stating, you can't do this business. No one has the money. I mean, look at me, I'm barely making it myself. Everyone else is the same. You will only attract what you vibrate. You're vibrating what you're currently holding, i.e. what you are thinking. Most of the time, we're not even aware of the low vibrational self-inflecting thoughts, because we're so used to them going on in the background, guys, that we're no longer aware of that they're actually there. And we just constantly think it's another part of us inside of us that's constantly having a conversation. It's time to now be the observer, to really pay attention. Velvet, I know you've got a lot to go kind of weave in through a few thoughts there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I really love this. And what I wanted to really bring awareness to is the what, because those are the conditions. I call those symptoms that are going on in our life. So let's say that we are having constant car trouble. That is a condition and a symptom that your subconscious mind is projecting onto the movie screen to let you know what you have been thinking about, what you are thinking about, and maybe what you are in the habit, like Wendy said, of thinking over and over again. So many times people say, yeah, but I've been thinking positive and things aren't happening good for me. Well, we have to understand that conditions can also come from thoughts that have not completely cleared up from the past. And so again, we still observe our reality so that we can see where the ease and flow is, or where the restriction and the stoppage is, so that we can say, you know what, I realized that I used to think like that. And you can change it. You can declare something different. So this is why observing your reality plays a very important and critical part in the healing of, like what Wendy is using here, that you can't do this as a business. Well, that may have been how you used to think, but to help you to change that idea is, wait a minute, what makes me think that I can't do this business? Wendy's an SPD, Wendy's successful at it, Dr. Stacy's successful at it. So what makes me think that I can't do the business? And then what happens is that the subconscious mind is going to bring up more things for you to become aware of where you just need to tweak your thinking. So the subconscious mind is not working against you. It does not rule your life. All it has the ability to do is to project what you believe about yourself, your reality, and people in that reality. So hopefully that helps when it comes to the what that's in your life. It's conditions that are around there. And it can seem like a difficult process when you first start, but then it becomes really fun. Yeah, so thanks, Wendy.
So what we need to do, guys, is look for similarities. What are you attracting? Because whatever you're attracting is also within you. So I'm sorry, let me back up. This is me again. Back up. So what is seeking you? What you seek is seeking you. And that's a famous quote from Rumi. And it's true, because whenever we go through any type of experience, usually more either traumatic or high, I shouldn't say traumatic, anything that's high emotional, that we will have that vibration will be lodged within our body, within our cellular body, and we actually hold on to those vibrations, whether they're high vibration or low vibration. If they'll still be there vibrating unless we have worked through it or accepted it. Usually we lodge lower vibrations in our body because we usually don't, we're programmed and trained that feeling angry or being hurt is taboo. We don't, we don't want to be angry. Don't yell at that person. It's not okay. Or it's not okay for someone to yell at you. Or maybe your particular being was squashed or disregarded by a parent or a peer, and that made you feel hurt. That's a lower vibration, right? And if it's not processed through, if it's not understood, if you're not rectified, if I am worth it, then that vibration will stay within you. So what you're attracting ultimately is what you're vibrating out. I know you want to say something on this too, Velvet.
Yeah, this can be very tricky because when I speak with people about this, they say, yeah, but that person, I would never attract that. This is their story. Okay. If that is something that you've healed within you, also remember that people can now be attracted to you because they also want that healing. So sometimes when a situation comes up, you go, oh, wait a minute, how am I attracting this into my life? You have to ask yourself that, but then also you have to look at the facts. And the facts may be that that person is just not a good person. That doesn't mean that you're not a good person. That person genuinely can be not a good person, but that they are now seeking you out because they want something that they now recognize in you. And really stop and think about what I just said there. How powerful that is. It's like, oh my gosh, this person is attracted to me, not because they're a bad person, but because they see something good in me that they want. And a lot of times all it is just staying still, not saying anything. But Wendy's got a very valid point. If you become reactive to it, and we all probably know how that feels, right? We know when we're reacting and when we're just observing the facts. But if we become reactive, then as Wendy is saying, there's still something within you that you're attracting to help you to heal. Right. So yeah, thank you, Wendy, for that.
Yeah. So guys, let me introduce myself. Take me, for instance. I'm going to give to you introduce my biggest programmer, which was my father. My father was a genius, no joke. He was a genius. But he also was, how can I put it? He was a very violent man. Very loving too, but very violent man. Hang on, Evolulette. I need to mute.
Sorry.
Thank you, love. So I was programmed, actually I was programmed with many, many things. We all are programmed from what our mothers and our fathers and our sisters, peers, teachers, etc., what they imprinted upon us. And we'll go more into what exactly is a program a little bit later. But my father, just to give you two examples, he was very violent. And I actually witnessed him trying to kill my mother like 6 times. And so as I grew up, guess who's the first person that I dated / married? Guess what he was? He was abuser too, because I already accepted that men are abusive. It wasn't a cognitive belief. It was a subconscious program that was laid in over and over and over again to the point where I looked at this as life. I believe it. And therefore I started emanating that vibration. And I attracted a man who was as well very violent. That's one example. The second example is my father, being the fact that he was extremely intelligent, you could never win an argument with him, right? You could never say, but I know this is right because I feel it here. That's not good enough. You have to have all the facts aligned. You have to have everything lined up. So when I got into direct marketing, what did I do? I made sure I had all my facts lined up, guys. I made sure I had everything. So what did I do when I talked to somebody? I talked to them just like I was talking to my father. I threw up all the information at them, how great the science is, how all these testimonies are wonderful, et cetera, et cetera. And guys, if you're listening to somebody who's constantly going, no, 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 and they just don't shut up, what do? We shut down. We don't pay attention and we're not interested, right? We're all learning that making the other person more important, listening to them, asking them questions, and how can you help with whatever they're talking about? But it's mainly them talking. But nevertheless, I was still programmed that I had to go and prove everything. I was, in essence, you could say I was defensive, right? Because I knew that they're going to come at me and they're going to say, well, what about the studies? So, man, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to make sure I have all those studies ready. And all I did is I just had a lot of doors shut in my face because I was throwing up on them. I was already defensive. Who wants to work with somebody who's defensive? So I had to learn and really look inside and learn where that program was and remove it or reprogram it with something that was much more beneficial for me and for others. So there is just one example. So now let's talk about you. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. I figured that you'd love that one, Velvet. All right, go ahead, Velvet.
I want to follow up on something that you said a little bit ago about the programming too, because we fall into this trap of that familiar feeling, right? It's a familiar feeling. You feel safe within it. And so I just love that you took upon yourself knowing that something else could be different and step outside of that familiar feeling. And it's never easy, Wendy, when we start diving deep into those programs because we have to take responsibility for that. So yeah, brave, brave, brave individuals. So accepting ownership from within. Are you in the mindset of failure? You want me to take this from here, right, Wendy?
Yeah, go ahead. And there's two more things that are popping up, and there they are.
Okay, awesome. When we are in a failure mindset, we tend to block challenges. So we will do things to keep ourselves from being challenged and also not like challenging ourselves. So this is where a lot of times when you have that mindset that you're not going to be a good team leader, that you don't reach out to your team members, right? So it's very important to put those two and two together so that if you want a growth mindset, that you're able to do the things that you need to do in order to challenge yourself and become what it is that you're wanting to become. And that's going to be success. So they will avoid challenges so that they don't look stupid. To be honest, this is one of the things that my husband does. He grew up in an environment like Wendy was talking about her environment where he was put down as a child constantly. So instead of feeling or looking stupid, he will just avoid you altogether. So he kind of tends to lay back, but now he's been married to me for almost 30 years. So you got to watch out now because he'll let you know. They get stuck in a routine that doesn't allow them to grow, to enjoy that growth or that unique expression. So when you're working within this field, know that you are an individualized expression of that divine source, that divine creativity, and you can do it any way that you want to do it. You can bring, like, let's say that you don't like making phone calls. Well, that's okay. Think about how you would present that in a different way. Maybe texting, maybe email, maybe just having dinner with someone. So a growth mindset is going to look for ways to overcome their obstacles. So people who are in that failure mindset or that closed mindset, they avoid making mistakes, right? So instead of picking up the phone and saying, hey, this is Dr. Velvet, and I hope I'm not bothering you, and you're stuttering and you're worried, they're just not going to pick up the phone at all because they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing. Like Wendy was super prepared because of her programming with her father. So she went ahead and did it because she wasn't afraid of making a mistake because her father had already programmed her, have your facts and you don't make mistakes. So in a way that really kind of benefits her too. They'll avoid struggles. and perseverance, right? So perseverance, we've all got to persevere. We've got to stay consistent, which we're going to talk about in another little slide here. They will see effort as pointless and will avoid putting effort into what they desire. So they're looking for the shortest and easiest way. And a lot of times that's not always the best way. And because my husband is kind of conditioned in this mindset, it's kind of like he works a little harder because now he doesn't want to put the effort into fixing it the first time, or that he's already got this mindset that he's going to screw up. And so everything kind of just falls by the wayside on that. So when we're looking at a failure mindset, recognize those traits for yourself of where you might be avoiding the challenge. Where is it that you don't want to look stupid? Where is it that you're avoiding expressing yourself? And then also, this is one that my husband will use too. It's not his fault, right? But it's always somebody else's fault. And a lot of times he'll come at anybody with that idea of making that excuse of where that blame lies, because he doesn't want any of that blame. Now, for me, and probably for Wendy too, and I think I've actually seen Wendy be able to do this. When she makes a mistake, you guys, she admits it. She's like, oh, wait a minute, I've got to go back. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. Oh, I've got dyslexia of the tongue. I share that with my sister. I have that all the time. But when you move into this place where you have an open mindset, then you allow those things just to roll because they're a part of life. They're really what add the flavor to our lives as well. So how would it feel for you guys if Wendy and I sat here and we just became robotic? We never made mistakes and we just blurted everything that was off of the screen. It would be uninteresting to you. You wouldn't be able to connect. So in some ways, our mistakes allow all of us to feel human, feel connected, and you can say, wow, they handled that really good, because Dr. Velvet laughs at herself a lot when she makes mistakes. And it teaches you to be able to do the same thing. So I know you can relate to that, right, Wendy?
Oh gosh, yes. And what I was going to comment on, you just said it in the last sentence. So guys, when you just be your authentic self, and we kind of went into this a couple of weeks ago, being your authentic self. When you're authentic self and you laugh at your miscomings, oh gee, I don't know that information, or I said that backwards, and that sale is really not happening right now. It basically, one, you're being truthful, you're being honest, you're being real, you're being in the moment, you're acknowledging your feelings. You're also giving that person that you're speaking to or that you're standing in front of, you're giving them permission to do the same. Most of us are not in that space, right, of allowing us to be our authentic self, allowing ourselves to be truthful or to really feel those emotions, right? Emotions, again, are still taboo in this world. Oh gosh, even so now, God forbid if I get angry or sad because it might offend somebody. That's a whole new topic altogether. But nevertheless, by you being acknowledging your own feelings, you're giving the other person, this is a safe place. This is a safe platform for you to feel your feelings. Be you, be your authentic self. And basically, is everybody else the same permission to do the same?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, permission to do the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of this, though, guys, you're still following a program. So what exactly is a program? So a program is an action or spoken word in which you receive that was repetitive and you accepted it as truth, and it becomes a belief. This program now is the construct from which you make decisions from, you react from, and you also attract from. Go ahead, Velvet.
Yeah, I mean, if we're seeing anything that we do that's consistent over and over and over again without the positive results, then we really need to stop and think about, what is it that I'm telling myself every day, or what have I believed that someone said about me or another person, because it really is creating the conditions in our lives. So yeah.
So in order, guys, to break that program, you must first be able to acknowledge that that program even exists. And the way you do that is by observing yourself, using it to create ownership. So yeah, you heard me right. So creating ownership to a program or to an emotional response, both are, the emotional response is almost like a sign, right? Saying, hey, this is a program over here. Whenever you have anything that's an emotional trigger, that is a sign saying there's a program that's right behind it. And some programs are not that big of a deal. For instance, another thing from my childhood was, men can't love, right? That's ridiculous, right? My dad had an issue as far as being able to show love to his wife, but that was a program. It was a repetitive action that I, took in as truth, and it became a belief. And then I attracted men that didn't give a hoot's butt about me because they weren't in touch with their feelings. So basically, I first must have acknowledged that, as painful as things may be, you first must acknowledge, okay, yeah, I feel this trigger. I keep attracting that. Hey, you know what? That's just like what my dad did to my mom. And I chose to believe that as a truth. There's a lot of things, guys, in this world that we believe is truth, and it's not. It's okay. It's what we're here for. We're here to experience. So go ahead.
No, can I share an experience since it kind of ties into what you just said? Because what Wendy is saying is that she became aware of the thoughts that she is having, like she became aware that she was attracting these men into her life. But I'm going to give you another example of how easy this can happen to us, and it's very important to stay awake. Is one day I was making the bed, my husband was in the shower, we're having a beautiful morning, the house is open, just lovely. You could feel spirit. And all of a sudden I take the sheet and I go, men suck. What is wrong with them? They just can't do anything without being told. And I'm standing there and I'm like, why am I taking this out on the bed sheet? What happened? This is not my thought. Where did this come from? And suddenly my mind was filled with hearing those same exact words my mother used to say. And in that instant, and what we have to be mindful of is in that instant, we have to be willing to say, that is not my thought. I return that to its owner. This can no longer impact my life. I love my husband. I love that we work as a team. I appreciate men. I appreciate the fact that men are in our lives and help us and are our protectors. And never had that feeling ever, ever again. So it's important to be aware and to say, where did this thought come from?
Mm-hmm. Great point. Yeah, that's another aspect, guys, because even if I were in the same room, actually, this happened one time I was in Trader Joe's. I was in a great mood. I was in a great place. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, who was at that time, I think was like 16, she was with me, and she was going about getting some extra things that we needed. And I went by this person. I didn't really pay attention, but I did feel, and I'm an empath, so I do feel energies, guys. And it doesn't matter whether you feel them or not, eventually you feel them. But I passed this guy, and within 2 seconds, I was pissed. I was angry. And my daughter came back, started coming back, and I was ready just to rip into her, like, what took you so long? Thank goodness I've been practicing the art of observation for a while, to the point where I was like, whoa, I wasn't pissed 2 minutes ago, and now I'm really angry. What the heck just happened? Well, everybody's got an energy field. Yes, here I am getting off topic, but everybody has an energy field. And if you're not keeping your field nice and strong, then if another person comes along with a nice, strong, charged field, it will infiltrate into yours. This world loves homeostasis, guys. It will try to balance things out. And negative, lower vibrational feelings are positively charged, believe it or not. And therefore, it will glom onto your high vibrational, because again, it creates a neutrality. But you may feel angry like I was. And I did exactly pretty much different words, but same type thing. This feeling like I'm feeling, I commanded it, get pulled, canceled, removed because it is not mine. So yeah, there's those things in the moment, yes, can definitely happen, but programs have been laid in for quite some time. Even the one that Velvet was talking about was a program from her past, right? That she heard her mom say again and again. And it was a beautiful gift for that to come forward for her to experience. But again, she's been, working with the art of observation for a long time for her to go, whoa, where did this come from? I remember mom used to do that. Not mine. Full cancel, remove. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Velvet. But regardless of what has gone on in your past, and some people, like myself, have really painful past. And it's really, really challenging to get past that pain. And more important, it's really challenging to take ownership of it. Because when anyone who's ever gone through therapy, and if you've gotten to the place where, they say, forgive the other person, now you come across to the next step, which is forgive yourself. And that's the harder, even one of the two. So no one here is a victim in this life. To say this is to give someone or something else your power. You're giving your power away. And to say that something has greater power than what energy that the creator is giving you inside you, sorry, that doesn't exist. The creator runs through you, your God, whatever you may be that you deem as your divinity, that energy runs through you. Nothing has more power than you. So our programs usually show up in the way of emotionally triggers, like I just said earlier, and they basically show up in your life. And programs become mindsets. So accept the ownership from within. So accepting ownership, there are two mindsets. I'm just going to click one more time because I think I've got something going here. There you go. And you're on, Velvet.
Yeah, so the two mindsets are a fixed mindset and then the growth mindset. And as we spoke earlier, that failure mindset, they avoid challenges, they give up easily, they see effort as useless. What's the point? They ignore feedback that might appear as negative and directed towards them. All of these things are protective mechanisms because of programming that took place earlier on that closed their mind in order for them to protect themselves. So as workers, light workers, that's why when we mess up, that we've got to show them it's okay that you messed up. We don't want to say, oh, look at you, you just messed up, because that's only going to make their mindset even more fixed. All right. So the growth mindset, these are the individuals that embrace challenges. And matter of fact, they're great at challenging themselves, sometimes to the point of where they overexhaust themselves. And I'm actually guilty of that. They see effort and the potential reward of mastery. Every morning when I wake up, I say a little prayer that all of my efforts are extremely rewarded well. All of my efforts are rewarded. They are extremely persistent. And I actually received a text from a lady that I was working with in Arkansas who moved to Alaska. And she says, Dr. Velvet, I have got to give you the award of the year for being persistent. You are the most persistent person I've ever known. Brand partners that have signed up, they're like, Dr. Velvet, I'm so glad you were persistent. I'm glad you didn't give up on me. I just signed up a brand new brand partner, and he says, I'm inspired to become like you because I work by myself. I don't have anybody holding me accountable, and your persistence has held me accountable. So we get to change people's lives when we are also being persistent because we're showing them that it pays off, that it's not hurting anybody, and that there's a reward there. The growth mindset learn from constructive criticism. And constructive criticism can seem a little sharp because people who have an open mindset, they usually just say, da, 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 da. Like they'll let you know what is wrong. They don't go into, hey, I think you made a mistake on the PowerPoint presentation, and I'd like for you to take a look at it and, you know, tell me what you think. That's going to be your fixed mindset because they're afraid of being rejected. Whereas the growth mindset, they know that you're a professional, they know that you can do it, and they are not wasting time explaining themselves. They just go for it. I actually really appreciate and have a high regard for people who can just tell me like it is, because if my feelings get hurt, that's on me. That's on me. So they recognize the talents and gifts in others, are inspired easily by others' success and accomplishments. So this looks like that if Wendy is successful, I'm going to pay attention. What is she doing? What's going on? I'd like to aspire to become more like that. What books is she reading? Right? That's one thing that Wendy and I share with each other all the time is, hey, what books are you reading lately? Even my son came home this week and he said, hey, Mom, what new book are you reading nowadays? Well, he wouldn't ask me that if he was seeing me with a fixed mindset, downtrodden, because he would just say, God, whatever she's doing is not working. So this is important to recognize that what you're doing is working when other people recognize it. And it's important to understand that everybody's got different talents and different gifts. So Wendy and I work really good together because my talent and my gift is more in this mindset. It's more into this spiritual, metaphysical work that we're doing together. But take me over to another area and that wouldn't be so cool, right? But Wendy knows how to pull your gifts and your talents together, and she watches for those all the time. So a growth mindset is a nurturing path. It takes time, patience, and loving yourself. Whereas the fixed mindset, they really don't know how to do that. So I'm sure you might even experience this in your own reality, right, Wendy?
Yeah, and I want to come around to what you said a while ago, that you said if somebody upsets you, it is your responsibility. So guys, you may not understand what she's coming from. If someone said something to trigger Velvet, it's because she's holding a program that she's not yet cleared, and that's why she's being triggered. And that's called being responsible for oneself versus blaming another for how one feels. Now, I am not stating we're not making giving somebody a pass to be rude or mean, or intentionally trying to hurt you. By all means, no. But we're just saying in general. But actually, let me back up to that. When I still had a lot of the vibration, a lot of that emotion and the programs that were vibrating within my cellular body, I was attracting people who would confront me on a regular basis. I hate confrontation. I saw that in the messages earlier. I hated confrontation because it just like it was my dad all over again. And oh my gosh, I'm never going to win, no matter how much information I may be able to spew out. When I finally acknowledged that program and I cleared it out, and guess what? I'm no longer vibrating that lower vibration of confrontation. Guess what? I no longer was attracting confrontation. These days, because I've been working through, I'm saying with Velvet, and that's what we're here for, is basically as I've moved through and cleared all of those lower vibrations out of my cellular body, I don't really have a negative person saying pretty much anything to me. Everybody comes or smiles, everybody's high vibration. Why? Because that's what's vibrating out of my body, and I'm going to track that very same thing. So thank you, Velvet, for bringing up that particular point.
Yeah, and illnesses can also make us feel that lower that vibration. So if we're not well, we haven't taken care of ourselves, and then we begin to attract people that we're going to be snippety to because we're holding them at a higher responsibility, but we've allowed ourselves to get sick. And so when you were talking about the snippety or people being rude, is that can happen to us when we need to also take a moment and say, oh my gosh, my energy must be really low. Where have I not taken care of myself?
So how do we clear these old patterns? We sometimes would love just the quickest route. I mean, who wouldn't? I love the quickest route. Give me the fire hose. Just blow it out. But then guess what? you're dealing with all the rebel left behind. And man, is that a beep, beep, beep to clean up. And it's a lot more demonstrative than way it was programmed in the first place. So that is not the right way, you know, to get the fire hose out, or I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to go cold turkey and I'm going to do this, or I'm going to put so much pressure on myself. I'm going to get this done in 2 days. Guys, this is a path. You are going to walk the path and you are going to I'm still clearing it. I've been on this path for 10, 15 years. Not to say one needs to take that long, but necessarily, but you know, give yourself the time. The best way to clear old patterns is to nurture, as you know, Dr. Velvet said earlier. And as she says, well, consistency. You're hearing a pattern here? So being observant to your current mindset is number one. You know, realizing where it stems from, observing your particular triggers, your emotional triggers, owning them. You know, oh gosh, yes, okay, that trigger didn't have anything to do with, you know, Joe went ahead and yelling at me about not, or accidentally grabbing his mail. I was already, you know, vibrating that because I was thinking about something else. So he was showing me what's vibrating me. So I'm going to own that, you know, great. If you're not vibrating, Joe won't get angry. And repeat. You could do all those and repeat. Consistency is better than perfection, guys. We can all be consistent. Perfection is possible.
And something very important to remember here, guys, is you're never done, right? So like Wendy said, you know, you're not going to be able to just blow it up, because at every state of your consciousness, there's always going to be something that's a balance to that state of consciousness that's going to bring greater awareness. So you're always evolving, you're always learning. So be gentle and kind with yourself so that these states of consciousness, that those lessons aren't as dramatic or damaging, as Wendy said. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am going to take this one question because it is right here, and I think Velvet and I can definitely tap on it. Do we tell the person that they triggered us? Why? Why would you tell that person? If you're telling them, you're basically saying it's your responsibility because you triggered me. It is not their responsibility. Their energy body is simply just showing up and being a mirror to what's going on inside your body. It is for you to take the responsibility to own it, going, oh, what am I being triggered by? I got upset because you did this. Okay, I mean, in your head, not to them, right? And then take that feeling and really sit back and own it. Okay, so I felt really bad. I felt like I was really, you know, they're talking to me like I wasn't worthy. Oh, so focusing on unworthiness. Oh, that leads to me feeling unsafe. Okay, so I'm going to feel unsafe for a while to sit with that. Okay, feeling unsafe. I feel hopelessness, helplessness. Ooh, that's a really bad feeling. Oh, it's okay. No judgment on the feelings, guys. We're just going through. Okay, I feel helpless, hopeless. Okay, what goes down now? Okay, I just feel vulnerable. Okay. And eventually you'll go down to a space where you won't feel anything, or you'll feel joy, you'll feel relief or whatever. But then you own all those feelings and then you love them. So what do you, so I know Velvet, you got your own techniques there.
Yeah. And before I talk about that, you know, when we're thinking about whether we're going to confront somebody or let somebody know that we've triggered them, or that they have triggered us, we also need to remember that this is about empowering ourselves. And when we tell somebody, you know, you've just triggered me, they now have more ammo to do the same. And they know that you have a weakness that they can now feed off of. So instead of that, take your power back and just accept that you've been triggered, as Wendy said, and begin that process of investigating those feelings. And a very nice comment to say when somebody you know who is intentionally triggering you, they meant it, they're doing it to harm, but you're going to use it for good. That's just the way life is. It's very easy to say, you know, thank you. I didn't see it that way, or you know, thank you for bringing that to my attention. And that's not what they want to hear. They want to hear how horrible you feel about yourself now. And you remove all power from them, and then you can go into your safe place knowing that, hey, I can just look at this, and it'll be so much easier for you to look at it, because now you're not putting it on the wall as if somebody else. But there are people out there who do intentionally try to trigger us, but see them as like the dark angels, and that they're there also to bring enlightenment and will help us to grow. So hopefully that makes some sense to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And good point. Thank you. All right. Clearing the patterns, step 2, growth mindset.
Are you want me to take this one?
Please.
Yeah. So our challenges become our opportunities, right? So we're going to prioritize learning over seeking approval, right? We're going to learn about ourselves, but we're also going to learn about the process. The nice thing about this one is when we're no longer seeking approval from an individual, we develop our own systems. If we're seeking approval, we sometimes fall into, and I'm talking about systems like at home, right? So, like the system that I just created for our house is that everybody thinks they can just dump their mail and their bills on my office desk. And by the end of the day, I can't find anything. So, what we do is we learn what's happening. We learn what we don't like and what we would rather see happen. And then, without asking anybody else, well, hey guys, what do you think about if we do this way? You set the system up and you let them know, hey, this is what we're going to do from now on. It's very empowering. And so you take that challenge and now you turn it into an opportunity for everybody to be organized. You focus on the process rather than the end result. So the process is how you're going to get you to the end. So if your goal is to sign up 10 new brand partners, you can't just focus on signing up 10 new brand partners. You have to have a process in place that's going to help you to achieve that end result. So it's good to know the goal, but the process is actually what's going to get you there. Now, develop a sense of purpose. So, purpose is what sets your soul on fire, it's what excites you. It allows you to feel that you have just added value to an individual's life. So when you begin to see the value that you are bringing to other people through these patches, oh my, your purpose is on fire. You wake up with purpose, you wake up with direction, and you have a sense of clarity. So there's one of the books that Wendy and I were talking about with the 10X the last month. They're talking about motivation and clarity. Well, so people always say, I feel so unmotivated. Well, developing a sense of purpose can lead to that. But the only reason that you feel the motivation, the fire behind you now, is because now you're clear with yourself. You have a clear vision. And Wendy did a beautiful post on Facebook today regarding vision. So challenges become opportunities, and choosing learning well over learning fast. Right? You have nowhere to go. Just take your time, learn what you need to learn, and apply it immediately. Don't wait on it. If you've learned something new about the patches, then that's when you take action. Okay? Making mistakes does not mean you are a failure. So again, we've said that many a times already. Learn from the mistakes of others. So it's not just the mistakes that you're making, but when you recognize somebody has just made a mistake, that again is you. That is your projection, because maybe it's not a mistake at all. It could be, but that you sit and you learn how to put a system in place. What would you have done different? So there's lots of times people say, oh, I couldn't do what you're doing. I would never want to be on Zoom calls where there's hundreds of people. I wouldn't want my face all over the public. Okay, well, what do you want instead? Instead of telling the universe what you don't want, what do you want? What would you do instead? So that's how I do it. If I'm watching somebody doing a webinar, I'm not critiquing them, but I might say, gosh, what would I do different, in my uniqueness? And that's what makes us all very special. Again, learning to receive constructive criticism. We've already done that one. Cultivate grit. Yeah, you got to build it's not building a wall. You're building your grit. You're building your You're building your self-confidence. Set a new goal for every new milestone you achieve. So just because you've got this long-term goal of 10 brand partners, make sure that you also are rewarding yourselves for that one that you did sign up and that two you signed up, because that's going to continue the momentum of that. Because otherwise, all you're going to be focusing on is the 10 brand partners. Like that 10th person is going to be the one that's going to receive all the celebration. And number 1, 2, and 3 are like, oh, what about us? I mean, and it happens, folks. I've actually seen people do that. And understand this, success takes time. You guys hear about people who have become overnight sensations when it comes to becoming an SPD, or how many people they signed up. Well, realistically, success takes time. And that I've noticed that people who do things very, very quickly tend to get bored very, very easily. So they'll get everything right where it is, and then all of a sudden they leave, they take off, they're no longer around. So take your time to build your own success, because what you're doing is you're cultivating an entity. Your business is an entity, it has an energy to it, and it's infusing with your energy. So when you are taking your time to build that success, it's permeating, right? It's embodiment. And that success will take you very, very far. And it's resilient. Success that takes time is resilient. And a lot of that's because of the consistency and the persistence that you've put into it. It's kind of like, I've been married to my husband for 30 years, and somebody said, would you get a divorce? And I was like, oh, why would I do that? I've invested all this time in him. So he and I are a business. We are an entity together. We're not going to risk all of that of just throwing it away. It takes time to build a wholesome relationship, as well as it does your success. So Wendy, would you like to add anything to that?
I'd like to go back in a little bit to purpose, guys. So motivation, if whether it is about your life, whether it is about a business that you're on top of, you're heading, or going to a job. And if you don't feel motivated in those areas, that usually means because you're following a specific program that is somebody else's dream, is somebody else's thought. For instance, if somebody says, in order for you to be a good parent and a wife, you have to do this and this and this and this. And if that isn't you don't find so much joy in all those 4 things, yet you're consistently doing them, you're not going to be motivated. You've got to, again, be your authentic self, honoring you, doing what you do best, and knowing what you do best, because no one else does it the way you do it. And, you've heard in this business, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And that's totally true, because your energy is attracting them. Let's say you're a high vibration, you're in great state, you attract a person, you could say, oh my gosh, I've got this great technology and it activates my stem cells. And they're like, oh my God, sign me up. That's it. Or you could go and say, throw out and blurt, excuse me, hang a minute. I didn't expect somebody at my door. You could, throw out and blurt things that you think, oh my Lord, that's just horrific. But again, may go, oh, but I like your energy and I want you. And again, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. But motivation is when you follow your own passion. So if you feel like you need to be motivated to do this business, you're kind of, you're burnt out and oh my gosh, I don't want to have to do this again. Well, then you need to reevaluate what is your why. That's why it's so important. You hear it so very often through this industry. Find your why, because your why is your part of your passion. My passion is to help people. My passion is so they can wake up in the morning and go, I love me. I love my life. I mean, it's awesome, right? And seriously, you can feel it coming up. I love when I can help a person find that within themselves. Dude, that's it. I'm done. My day is done. And part of this, this technology of activating your own peptides to help a person get there, that also is part of my passion. So if you feel like you need to be motivated, then really reevaluate your why. and really work in what is your true passion to life, and then find how this technology can work with that.
Yeah, I love that. And your why is never going to be about a brand new car. Your why is because you're going to want that security. You want that sense of freedom and independence, right? So you still have to dig down into really what that why is. And it's never going to be about money, but money does provide you comfort. And so maybe that's your why. You want to be comfortable. You want to be secure. You want to be independent.
So guys, it's all about working on the inside. So whatever program you currently have running the show that is creating your mindset, you must go within and rewrite it. We've kind of given you some tips and some tools and some techniques, some that I've kind of hinted upon. I teach a program that's called I'm Agape that helps you remove those programs. Velvet, please share a little bit about what things you help people, help remove their programs in a little bit. But, oops, sorry, again, my little finger gets trigger happy. Practice being an observer in your surroundings and with yourself. That's number one. Both myself and Velvet, that is part of our life. You've got to remember, we create the world, guys. I know that might be a new concept to a lot of us, but the divine works through us and projects out what we expect and what we desire and what we want. Whatever we place our focus on long enough, it comes into fruition. It comes into the physical reality. You want to say something, Velvet?
Yeah, that's also true. It's also true. I really don't have anything extra to add to that, but I will go ahead. You want me to go ahead and share what I do to help with that? So I do quantum biofeedback, and for those of us that are doing this patch, we realize that quantum frequencies have a very high impact on our lives because that's what you're using. You're using a frequency patch. It's on a quantum level. But quantum biofeedback helps us to see where blocks are. And these blocks can be emotional. They can be patterns that we've picked up from our ancestry, just like Wendy said. And we're able to see them through energetic writings that show up on a device of where that is. The other thing that I do is called Intuitive Insights. Intuitive Insights is a program that was written from or developed from my book, Higher Mind, Lower Mind, where we are learning how to work with our reality and understanding that our thoughts and our emotions are important when it comes to the things that we want and that we desire in our lives. But Higher Mind, Lower Mind, the purpose of that book was really to teach people how to become more observant of the conditions in their lives. Because if I ask Wendy right now, hey, Wendy, what do you want in your life? What would you say, Wendy? What do you want right now in your life?
I'm pretty content.
Yes, that's a good one. But most people can't answer that. But let's say that she's content and that we're asking, well, how does that make you feel? Right? So how does that make you feel to feel content, to be content?
Yeah, I would actually, I could go through something, which is what I'd like to feel is that energy we used to have when we were 20 that just never seemed to go away, right? So we'll just stick with that.
Yeah, so she's saying she wants to feel the energy of a 20-year-old. And then think about what she just did. She kind of went through her thoughts. So instead of taking you guys through the whole process, what we found through developing this process is that when we asked people how they felt, they always told us what they were thinking. And it was over and over again. Feeling is extremely important because it's a part of the subconscious mind that creates our reality. It's a part of that feeling that you've got your mother, that's the feeling part. You've got your father, which is the thought part. The child is the condition. The child is the birth that both the mother and the father produce. And so the process basically takes you through to recognize the conditions, what you're feeling familiar with, and then we take it into the spirit to really dive deeper down to what you're wanting and give you that feeling and give that thought that now, and we don't give it to you, you come up with it yourself. So it's higher mind, lower mind is about nothing but becoming an awesome observer. And then, of course, I do dream work as well, because our dreams can also give us clues. The subconscious mind speaks to us at night, can also give us clues in what we're thinking about ourselves and others in our reality too. So thank you for allowing me to share that, Wendy. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So going back to, guys, the emotions. So even through our parents, we've learned, we've been programmed, some of us, that emotions are not good to feel or to express, right? But if you think about it, the emotional body is where everything is stored, all the programs, all the vibrations. Why? Before we came into this physical body, right, we were of energy, spiritual form. And to come down into the lower density, right, we came into the etheric, or some of you know as the quantum field. And then we came into this body and we had the emotions, right? Because we could feel how our mother feel. I mean, how many of you mamas out there, when you cried, all of a sudden your baby started crying too, right? Because they can feel there's no separation between mama and baby. So our emotional body is really what's bridging the spiritual world into this physical plane. Because you got to remember, our brains are not even developed, our physical body is not even developed, but the emotions are. So that's where everything kind of stems from. And we're like a sponge in that emotional body. And if we don't know how to deal with things, if we're not, I mean, who is when they're a child, right? Then it is stored in our cells. You got it. It is stored in your cells. I don't know if ever you heard that whenever you do like the X39 and the Aeon or even the glutathione as you detox, yes, you can feel the detox physically, absolutely. But you also can get a detox emotionally where you just break down, you start crying. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm so teary-eyed. And it's literally because, guys, you are detoxing these emotions out of your body because the cells that were filled with it are being replaced with brand new cells and they're exiting. So that energy has to go somewhere. And hence the emotional body relieves it. So what's really important is separate yourself from your old programming, guys, of the external environment, make that were programmed that makes you, but instead go within and discover who you really are. Begin appreciating. So these are your steps, guys. I really want you to do. Begin appreciating, giving gratitude every morning, every evening. I know, David Schmidt, he even says, what does he do when he first gets up in the morning before, he drinks water? And then what does he do? He goes, well, it goes actually into the next one. No, it's not. Basically, and then it goes into prayer or meditation, right? Prayer is when you're projecting, meditation is where you're receiving. And so basically you're getting in alignment with your divinity and giving gratitude. And I know every morning I wake up and I go, wow, it is a beautiful day out. Wow, I'm really appreciative to, whatever. I am just grateful that I feel really good. I had a great night's sleep. Sometimes though, let's be real. We wake up or before we go to bed, we've had a really crappy day and we slept like crap. And you might go, Wendy, I really don't have much, I don't really know what to say I'm thankful for in the morning because I really slept really bad and I'm really hurting. Then go to make things general. I'm grateful I have a bed. I'm grateful I have sheets and a blanket on me. I am grateful I have a roof over my head. At the end of the day, I am grateful I, was able to walk around today. Make it general. And eventually you're going to find that those higher vibrational thoughts are going to come within and you're going to find more and more to think about. In the evening time, I always try to find 3 unique things about my day that I'm grateful for, such as one time I was driving on the freeway and I was going like 75 miles an hour because my daughter was late for a birthday party. And I'm going along, I'm not paying attention to anything, right? Because we're focused and we're going to get to the party. And up comes a motorcycle cop. And what does he do? He goes all around me and he keeps on going, oh, you dang right. That was in my gratitude journal that night. Yes, thank you for not pulling me over. I'm so grateful. And then after you look through, because the next further down, you're going to see journaling, and I'm going to have, if you could, Velvet, talk about that later. But anyways, as you look upon the whole week about everything that you're grateful for, I want you to realize that in order for those things to come into your life, in order for you to see them and experience them, you had to be at a high vibration in order to attract them. You had to be empowerment. You created those experiences. And that is part of empowering you. So make that appreciative or giving gratitude every morning and every evening. And another good tool is for every low vibrational thought or feeling that you have about yourself, especially, or for anybody else, I want you to turn around and replace it with 3 high vibrational thoughts or feelings, such as, this is what we talked about earlier, that droning voice that goes on in the back it's like a broken record. We don't really pay attention to it, but we still say, oh my God, that was so stupid. Why did I do that? What? No. So that's not you telling yourself you're so stupid. I guarantee you, if you go back into your history, you're going to find a sibling, a parent, someone that was judging you or projecting upon you and calling you names that, again, was so repetitive that you took it as a belief and now you're repeating it in your brain. So override it with 3 high vibrational things. I am extremely intelligent. I have the ability to observe my environment, so I know what people need before they even know they need it. I am a really good, loving person. If that's toward yourself. If you're in traffic, someone pulls in front of you and cuts you off and startles you, right? It startles all of us because, oh my gosh, I wasn't seeing you come, right? But at the same note, we also get offended because why didn't you think about me and how I would react, right? So you might get angry at that person. So instead, stop. Okay, wait a minute. I wish the person had me blessings. I pray that they're okay and they're not really in a rush because somebody's in trouble in their family. And I'm really grateful I had good brakes on my car that I could stop in time. And I'm really grateful that I have great eyes to see that I was able to see them cutting in, beforehand so I could start to slow down. So there wasn't an accident. So always find 3 positive things to cancel out the lower vibrational things. And with that, we come to journaling. And I know you, Velvet, are you an avid journaler? Am I correct to say that? Yeah.
Every day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's extremely important to get those thoughts out. The other thing is it allows you to shift your energy as you journal into a different story. Neville Goddard instructs us that at the end of the evening before you go to bed and see something that you didn't like about your day or what you would have liked to have seen different, and imagine it being the way that you want it to have happened, and then just go to sleep. And it really does transform the energy. And journaling allows you to get that crap out of your system and allow to see and feel the good. A lot of times you don't even have to be conscious of it. You can just start journaling, then all of a sudden it changes into this beautiful positive story. And also, one of the things that I add to my journal is every day, as soon as I get through doing my meditation and I do my journaling, I write down 3 things that I want. Every single day, I write down what I want, not what I need, because a need represents that I have to make an excuse for it, that there's got to be a reason for it. But when we want something, that's a total different story. And I can tell you that I do this, and at the end of the day, I'm able to check off many, many, many times everything that has happened. I got exactly what I wanted, or better, right? And I do stipulate that is, thank you, Father in heaven, for this or something even better. And I'm always so grateful at the end of the day to be able to say, Father, thank you for fulfilling that. I'm glad it was in your will and my will to achieve. So it can transform your lives.
Yeah, journaling is so important. And for some people, it is amazing. Myself, I don't journal, but I take that time, like I said, to pull out. Actually, that's not true. I guess I do journal because I still write down the things that I am grateful for. And that is a form of journaling. So, but try it. Give yourself at least, 3 weeks to a month to really sit into it. And most people will find that this is a wonderful thing to basically end your day with, or you can even do it before you go to bed, like earlier when you're a little more awake. Yes.
Yeah, I do mine in the morning and at night. And people ask me, well, if you've been journaling as much as you do, what do you do with all your journals? Well, I can tell you, I've got a whole bookshelf full of journals, but there have been times where I have burned those journals as a ceremony for the gratitude of my life.
You know, I'm going to share another little anecdote. So I used to journal a lot from my 20s to my 30s, and what woke me up to programming was in my mid 30s. I read through my journals and I noticed they were cyclical. The same thing would happen over and over, different boyfriend, different font, different experience, but the same thing. And that's when I realized what is consistently showing up. Why is it consistently showing up? Why cannot not get out of this rut, right? A lot of us know that. And so that's when I really started looking into why. What am I saying to myself? What am I feeling internally? What do I feel like that I need? So this is going to go into the next one because I know this is one of your favorites, Velvet. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every relationship you have. And you need to love the process. So you need to really love yourself to really go through this whole entire thing. I thought the next slide was coming up to really cue in what I was talking about. So, but you know, that's another good thing about journaling. It'll wake you up, especially as you look through them. And yes, I did, after I finally went through the whole processing, the process of removing the programs and no longer attracting the same old, guys, you step into, because you're now a higher vibration. You can think of yourself as like you're a helium balloon. And you know how they attach those weights to the balloons so they stay grounded so they don't fly off? Well, think instead, instead of those big round ones, they just have little balls that you use in fishing, you know, on the fishing lures. And just think about every single one of those a program, and it's really weighting the balloon down. And the floor is basically low vibration. The ceiling's a very, very high vibration. As you remove a program, one of those weights come off, and the balloon doesn't move, right? Because it still has all this weight on there. But eventually, as you move all those programs, and you get rid of them and you neutralize them. That's the ideal, guys. You want to neutralize them so you're no longer reacting to them. Then all of a sudden the balloon begins to rise. And before you know it, you're in a higher vibration. And the higher vibration you are in, instead of repeating those looping patterns, you are now in creation mode. You now can create, just like Velvet's doing right now in her journaling. This is what I want to do tomorrow. This is what I want to accomplish. So her subconscious, her soul, everything's in alignment going, okay, we're going to go to work while you're going to sleep, and we're going to set everything up. So all this comes to fruition so you can have everything you want. It's such a beautiful place to be, and it can be for anybody. So love this process of reprogramming yourself and removing the programs and getting a better mindset. Developing a sense of purpose. You know, we talked about that, how to impact the world and the people you work with. Challenges, welcome them. Write down your triggers. What is something in your life that you experienced recently that has upset you? This is an area that's showing you what you're holding on to. Own it. Love the wisdom it's showing you. Learn something well. I'm gonna let you take this one over, Velvet.
Yeah, I really thrive on this one because I think it's important for us to develop ourselves, right? And through reading, we can really glean a higher consciousness and take bits and pieces. So pick a personal development book and spend time really getting to know it. A lot of people just read the book. I highlighted, I've got ear tags, I've got sticky notes in it, I'm journaling about it. It's got its own separate notebook. So when I say that I've dived into a book, I can literally teach that book now because I've experienced it, I'm embodying it, and it's not going to do you any good just to read a book if you can't apply it. So really learn something well, and don't let anyone else tell you how you should apply the information. Do it for yourself. Now, of course, when we're reading personal development books, they usually tell us how they got to point B after experiencing point A, but there may be a different path for you, and know that that's okay. Just like when I was telling somebody the other day about, oh, well, that person is a seller. Now they were buying the product And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, they short noted you. They became the seller. They were telling you what they need. They didn't come at it from what they wanted. And you've got to switch that scenario around. And then that person was really able to get it. Now, constructive criticism, you've got to write it down, the statement that was made to you that was upsetting. I do this in my journal. So if somebody has said something to me, I'll write it down. And then you take a look at that statement and write it down and how you would have handled it. Again, this is a Neville Goddard thing, where Neville Goddard is constantly telling us, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of Reverend Ike. He's amazing. You talk about somebody manifesting. These two people are just amazing manifestors, and I really study them a lot. But they both will say, take that situation and how would you have handled it differently? How would you have rather seen it? How would you feel in that situation? So this is the truth of you that wants to be expressed, and you're allowing yourself to accept that. So, and here's the thing, guys, and Wendy, I hope it's okay if I add this. This is great that all of you are here today, but I tell my students, please don't take the book and shove it into the bookshelf. You know, get it out regularly. So I see a lot of you are taking down notes. Many of you have been taking screenshots. To really love this process means you've got to integrate it into your life one way or another. Just start out with something that really called you, with what Wendy and I have been saying here. What area would you like to really work on first? Would you really like to become a better observer of your life? Well, you're going to have to be very, very gentle with yourself when you do that, because then the life says, oh, she wants to observe. Let's just give her everything. And you're going to have to learn what to weed through and develop yourself a system of maybe choosing one thing that you would like to look at deeper. But all of these things, once you get used to applying them and they become a part of you and they begin to enrich your life, they become automatic. Like, I don't even think about it in the morning that I'm going to get up in the morning to meditate and to journal. I just do it. I don't have to tell myself. I don't have to convince myself. And at night, before I go to bed, it's the first thing my husband knows I'm going to do, is that my book is there and I'm going to be writing. Okay. And you don't have to write. You can type it out if you want. Maybe you like to do a recording, but the process is going to really take off only if you apply what Wendy and I shared here with you today.
Yeah, and I want to pull to attention the photographs that I chose here, guys. So this thought about changing your mindset, this thought about removing programs and reprogramming yourself so you're in higher vibration, and therefore you're attracting new things and you're creating your world, is like planting a seed. And we need to love and nurture that seed and watch it grow and continue nurturing it as it grows. It's not, it's, at times, I have ADHD, guys. I am not a person who's like a scheduler. I have to do this in the morning, do this in the evening. My whole being just bucks at it. So, but I know that if I don't nurture what I want, if I don't nurture my being daily, then just like if you took that sprout and you didn't water it for 2 or 3 days, it doesn't look so good. And the same thing happens with you in your growth and your work on you. You need to create a momentum. And once the momentum gets up and gets going, it will move on its own. Just like Bill just said, I don't even think about, oh, I got an alarm to go and do my journaling this morning and I've got to do my meditation. No, because it has so much momentum. Her body already knows. Her brain has already made that synapses of, oh, we're awake. Okay, great. Where's the book? Let's start journaling. Okay, we've done that. All right, now we're going to calm down and bring all the brain signals down to a minimum so we can go into meditation. She has already trained her brain and already has that momentum. So it needs nurturing, constant nurturing. If anything, do it only if the only thing you do is do it for you. How do I always say this? If you forget about everything else out there, great. just always do for you. I remember when I first started empowerment and personal development, because I started this type of work, network marketing, and my old network marketing company, it was the numbers. And at the end of the week, and you have to and I was doing it for everybody else out here, and I had to do the numbers. And I said, forget it. And this is what perhaps you need to do. I have no responsibility. The only responsibility is doing my personal development. If you work here, it will only emanate out and you will attract. I just attract people. I literally had 2 people reach out last week. Hey, so I saw that you were doing something about these stem cell activation patches. Guys, I didn't do anything. They're just showing up. And that's what we all want to do. And it has nothing to do with, I'm special. No, I'm not. It's just because I've done the work and I'm doing the work. I'm making me number one. Make you number one. You are so important. I believe in you. Dr. Velvet believes in you. If you can't believe in you right now, then take our belief in you. We both know you have it in you to grow to become a beautiful redwood tree that has beautiful rings and is strong, and nothing is going to move you. So love the process. Learn to love yourself first instead of loving the idea of other people loving you. Velvet went ahead and talked about this earlier, right? When we are in the mode of, I want others to like me and to accept me and say I'm doing something right, that's an old program, probably from you're looking for acceptance and glorification or gratification or whatnot from your parent going, did I do good? Did I do good? Okay, I did. I didn't do bad today. I'm so happy with myself. No, you have to know within that you're doing the right thing. So you'll stop looking outside yourself and make the time for you and connect to your creator, your divinity. When you seek approval from within, you will cease to seek it outside of yourself. And that's something I wrote. So with that, do you have any closing thoughts there?
I love that you did the love yourself first. And this whole thing has been about that. Remember, integrity is my yes means yes and my no means no. So when we say yes to an individual because we want approval, we are falling out of integrity. And our soul just gets really kind of wigged out about that, right? And it's okay to say no. If it's within your justice of loving yourself, of like, no, I don't want this, then we've got to learn to live within integrity, and that our yes means yes and my no means no. Yeah. So this was really good, Wendy. I really love the PowerPoint. I love all the images that you've used today. It just really kind of sets the tone, and it gives a good example of what's going on in our lives.
So I hope everybody really enjoyed this. We did go over like I thought we would. So, you're welcome to reach out to myself or Dr. Velvet. You can find us both on Telegram. But let me go ahead and stop the share screen and let's see if anybody has any questions. If so, just raise your hand and we'll call on you. And meanwhile, I'm going to kind of go back to the question. I think we kind of answered the questions as they were asked. Thank you so much for being on top of that. Let's see here.
Now, they've asked about Neville Goddard, and he does have a book, and I would recommend that if you get the book, just to go ahead and get the complete reader, because it gives all of his books in one book, and they build on one another. Reverend Ike was a minister in New York. He had a Black church that just really, he empowered the African American community. He told them how they were programmed and how they felt like lesser beings, and he snapped them out of it. It's just amazing to listen to the stories. But he also has a book that it's a whole year, and each Sunday you read his story about it, and he gives you an exercise. It's very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm. And Noah Goddard, guys, was a man before his time. He's no longer with us, of course, and he came in the 1950s, I think.
Yeah, he was a
1960s.
metaphysician. Yeah.
Yeah, and just way before his time.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable information. If you need to really work on your self-esteem, how you're just trying to get on top of life and change. I know that in my early days, I listened to Abraham Hicks, and there are so many recordings on YouTube. It's not even funny. And I literally just had that on repeat, just listening 1 or 2 a day, just constantly listening to it, because that will, again, as you change your thinking, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that's from Wayne Dyer. And that I put that to a test. That totally works. So as you program, so I was programming myself with Abraham Hicks. And so as I reprogrammed myself to a higher vibration, all of a sudden newer things started showing up for me and continuing. And and it just kept, like someone said in the messages, it's stepping stones. That's all we're doing, guys. It's not a final destination. This life is not about a final destination. It's about stepping stones, learning more to who we are, how the divinity shows up within us, and how we can be of service to others. Mm-hmm. So it looks like no one has any questions. Oh, there's 6 new messages. Okay.
A lot of comments. We really appreciate you guys being here. And it looks like that you guys are really, you take this in. I really appreciate you guys as a group. And I know Wendy has been good with you for quite some time, providing these amazing classes for you guys. So no wonder you're all so very successful and beautiful, because you've got a great leader.
And as you as well are a great leader. We thank you for being here. So with that, guys, I think we're going to close this down. I have no idea what I have planned for next week. But if anybody's interested in any of the programs that Velvet offers, you're more than welcome to contact her directly. She'll put her number in, or the email, whatever you want to do there, Velvet, in the chat. And if you want to learn the I'm Agape process, it's me working with you one-on-one and finding out your triggers, teaching you a method to follow it all the way down to neutralize it. So it's no longer leading your life and controlling you as far as what I say, being the construct of your life. And then you can definitely reach out to me. Most of you already have my telephone number. But nevertheless, it's 805-689-7865. There's me. Other than that, you've already got some great people to look into when it comes to, your personal development and getting a new mindset. 10X was one of the books that Dr. Velvet and I went over probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. That's a good book. Anything from Neville Goddard. I said his name wrong, didn't I?
Neville Goddard, or Reverend I.
Yeah.
Atomic Habits is another good one.
Yeah. Any books from Wayne Dyer, those are usually very good. So there's plenty out there, guys, that are wonderful to read. And I would literally go whatever you are gravitating to. We're all on a different level, and every book has its own vibration. So really go to what you are gravitated to. So next week, I may go over how do you attract money and go through certain layers and trainings. I don't know if I'm going to take it as one step at a time and then talk to you guys. And then a month from now, take step 2, or if I give all 4 steps to you at once. But this is things that I applied for my life. The reason being because my dad was also very wealthy, but he kept it all to himself. So I learned that money's there, but just out of my reach. And so I grew up, as I entered adulthood, basically in poverty majority of my life. I didn't feel like I was in poverty, but if you look at the numbers, yeah, it was poverty level. But nevertheless, I learned, oh, that was a program. Okay, so let's look at all the programs that comes around with money. And so we talk about that next week, as far as let's remove those programs with money. Let's turn them around. So therefore, money can actually be tangible for you, because in truth, money is simply energy that you create. So with that, Velvet, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you so very much.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have yourself a great day.
Wendy.
Thank you. Bye, Barbs.
Bye, Barb.
Bye-bye.